The stars shimmered outside the window of the shuttle like tiny holes in a dark curtain. Elijah Reese sat quietly, looking at them, his thoughts running faster than the ship itself. He was Earth's first official ambassador to the Kalari Empire, a mysterious alien race that had never before allowed humans to visit their homeworld. He adjusted his formal uniform, a deep blue suit with Earth's golden symbol stitched over his chest. Beside him sat two assistants, both young scientists, whispering nervously. Elijah wasn't nervous, though. He was curious. The Kalari were one of the oldest known intelligent species, yet almost nothing was known about them. They had watched humanity from afar for centuries but spoke to no one. Until now, the shuttle descended through thick purple clouds and into the atmosphere of Kalara Prime. Elijah leaned forward, eyes wide. The capital city, Virelion, looked like something out of a dream. Towers of glowing crystal rose from the ground like frozen lightning. Roads shimmered like rivers of light. Everything looked alive, as if the city itself was breathing. A gentle voice spoke from the shuttle speaker. Ambassador Reese, prepare to disembark. The Queen awaits. Elijah stood, took a breath, and stepped through the hatch. The landing platform was smooth and silver, and a long path stretched toward a huge structure made of glass like stone. Light moved within its walls like water. Waiting at the entrance were 5 tall figures. Their skin was pale silver, their eyes glowing softly. Kalari, one of them, stepped forward and bowed. Welcome, Elijah Reese of Earth, she said in a calm voice. I am Laurel, Speaker of the Gate. You honor us with your presence. Elijah smiled and returned the bow. The honor is ours, Speaker Laurel. Thank you for receiving us. Without another word, the Shalari turned and led them down the shining path. Elijah walked slowly, taking in the strange beauty of the world around him. The air was cool and smelled like fresh rain. The buildings hummed softly, as if singing in a language only the planet could understand. As they walked, Elijah couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was happening, something he couldn't yet see. They reached a grand staircase that led up into the Crystal Hall, the heart of the Kalari Court. At the top, a wide open chamber stretched like a cathedral. The walls sparkled with flowing lights, and a massive crystal tree grew in the center, its branches reaching high into the dome. Dozens of Kalari stood along the edges of the hall, dressed in robes of silver and blue. They were silent, watching, waiting. And then Elijah saw her, Queen Alrisa. She stood at the far end of the hall, beneath the glowing tree, tall and graceful, with a crown of light above her silver hair. Her long robe shimmered like the surface of a lake. Her face was calm, beautiful, unreadable. Elijah took a step forward, prepared to bow and offer the official greetings. But before he could speak, something happened. The queen froze, her glowing eyes widened slightly. Her hands, which had been resting gently at her sides, stiffened. She didn't speak, she didn't move. The court noticed. A low whisper passed through the room like wind through tall grass. The Kalari were confused. Some looked frightened. Elijah paused. His heart beat faster. He didn't feel threatened. No one was reaching for weapons or shouting. But something was very, very wrong. He slowly looked up, meeting the queen's eyes, and in that moment, something passed between them. Not a thought, not a word. Just a feeling. It was like standing at the edge of a memory that didn't belong to him. The queen finally blinked. Her mouth opened slightly, but she said nothing. She turned to one of her advisors and whispered something too soft to hear. Laurel stepped forward quickly, her face unreadable. The queen requests a moment of silence and retreat. Please follow me to the waiting chambers. Before Elijah could respond, she gently took his arm and led him away. The Kalari guards opened a side door, and he was guided out of the hall without another word. As he left, he glanced back. Queen Alrisa was still standing in the same spot, staring at the place where he had been. The waiting chambers were quiet and filled with soft light. The walls glowed faintly, pulsing like a calm heartbeat. Elijah sat on a smooth bench, his mind racing. What just happened? One of his assistants whispered. I don't know, Elijah replied softly. But that wasn't a political error. That was personal. Did she recognize you? The other assistant asked. I've never met her. I've never even seen her until today. The door slid open and Laurel entered, her expression more serious than before. The Queen sends her apologies? She was overcome. Overcome? Elijah raised an eyebrow. She wishes to speak with you alone in private. His assistant started to protest, but Elijah stood. It's all right, I'll go. Laurel led him through a long hallway filled with glowing stones that changed color as they passed. The silence was heavy, like something waiting just behind the next breath. They arrived at a smaller chamber, quiet and round, with a soft couch-like seat in the center and no throne. Queen Alrisa was already there. She stood when Elijah entered. Her eyes still unreadable but no longer frozen. I apologize, she said softly. Her voice was musical, full of emotion barely held in check. I did not expect this, Elijah bowed slightly. What did you see, Your Majesty? She looked at him, her glowing eyes softer now. You must think this strange. I do, he said, smiling gently. But I'm used to strange. She walked slowly toward him. Your face, it is the same as one I have seen before. Long ago, in a memory that does not belong to me, but is part of me, Elijah frowned. A dream? No, she said, older than dreams. A memory passed from ruler to ruler, a vision, a warning. A man with your face, standing at the edge of time. Elijah was silent, trying to process her words. And what does this man do? He asked finally. She looked away, then back at him. He chooses. Elijah couldn't sleep. He sat near the large window in his guest room, watching Kalara's twin moons rise above the shining city. The sky was violet, and strange birds with glowing wings flew quietly through the air. Everything looked peaceful. But his mind was not. The Queen's words echoed in his thoughts. Your face, it is the same as one I have seen before. A memory passed from ruler to ruler. What kind of memory could survive for thousands of years? And why was he part of it? He closed his eyes, trying to rest, but even sleep refused to come. Instead, he kept seeing her eyes, full of fear, wonder, and something else. Something he couldn't name. The next morning, a soft chime rang through his room. A gentle voice followed. Ambassador Reese, the Queen requests your presence in the Crystal Hall. He dressed quickly and followed a Kylori guide through winding paths. The light around them responded to movement, glowing brighter when they passed. Elijah noticed that the city didn't seem to run on machines or wires. It felt alive, like the whole place breathed and thought in its own way. They reached the Crystal Hall, but this time it was quiet. No audience, no guards, just Elijah. The Queen and the Tree of Light in the center. Queen Alrisa stood beside the crystal tree, her hands gently touching its glowing bark. I hope you rested well, she said without turning. I tried, Elijah replied. But your words kept me awake. She looked at him now, calm but serious. Then you understand why I called you again. I understand that something very old has been waiting for me, he said. Alrisa nodded. Come with me. She walked to the back of the hall, where a small door opened silently into darkness. Inside, soft lights lit up one by one as they walked. The walls were lined with crystal mirrors that seemed to show moving shapes, not reflections but memories. This is the echo chamber, the Queen said. It holds the deepest memories of the Kalari, not written in books but felt, lived, and recorded by emotion. Every ruler adds to it. Every strong moment leaves an imprint. Elijah touched one of the mirrors. It shimmered and changed, showing a Kalari child holding their parent's hand under a sky full of fire. He felt a wave of sadness, safety, and longing all at once. It's not just images, he said softly. It's feelings, yes, Alrisa said. Kalari memory is not about facts, it is about emotion. We remember with the heart. She walked further into the chamber, stopping at the center, where a large, tall crystal stood on its own. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. This, she said, placing her hand on it, is where the memory of you lives. Elijah stepped closer. May I see it? You must, she said. But it is not easy to watch. Some things inside may hurt, but only you can understand it now. She touched the crystal, and light flowed from it like mist. It wrapped around Elijah and pulled him into the vision. Suddenly, he wasn't in the room anymore. He stood on a wide platform under strange stars. Around him were Kalari, but different. They wore darker robes, their faces younger, more uncertain. They looked tired, sad, even afraid, and in the center stood a figure, human. Elijah gasped. The man looked like him. Not exactly, but close enough to be family. The man held a sphere of golden light in both hands. He spoke, but the language was old and strange. Still, Elijah felt the meaning in his chest. We must separate for now. But one day our paths will join again. You must remember, even when it hurts. Especially then, the Kalari around him wept silently. The man touched the sphere to the ground, and a bright pulse spread across the platform. The vision faded. Elijah blinked as the light around him faded. He was back in the chamber, breath quick, heart pounding. That was real, he whispered. Yes, said Orisa. We call him the light bearer. We didn't know who he was. Just that he came to us at the end of a great storm and promised hope. And then he was gone. But why do I look like him? That is what we don't know, the queen said. Many believed it was just a dream, a story, but when I saw you, I felt it. Deep inside, you are connected to that man. Elijah sat down on a nearby stone bench. It doesn't make sense. Humanity has no record of this. We never met the Kalari before. How can I be in a memory that's thousands of years old? Orisa knelt beside him. That is the question only you can answer, and there is more. She stood and led him to another chamber connected to the eco-room. This one was smaller, darker, quieter. There is a forbidden memory here, she said. One I have never opened. It is locked, sealed by fear. It came with the light-bearers. Vision, but was too painful to face. Until now, she looked at him carefully. Will you help me open it? Elijah hesitated. He felt the weight of something heavy pressing around them. Not danger, but importance. Truth. Yes, he said. I'll try. The queen touched a small crystal, and a faint image appeared, blurred, flickering. As if trying to hide, she reached out a hand to Elijah. He took it, and the vision opened. They stood together in a dark space, surrounded by stars. A giant object hovered nearby, a ship, but not like anything Elijah had seen. It was broken, damaged, smoking. Inside it, hundreds of Kalari cried out in silence. Something had happened. A war, a collapse, a betrayal. Then the light-bearer appeared again, standing before a small group of leaders. His face was full of pain, but his voice was calm. I am sorry. We were not ready, but one day we will be. Let this not be the end. Let this be the seed. He reached out, and the leaders touched his hands. A light passed between them, and then the image shattered like glass. Back in the chamber, Orisa was shaking. This was hidden from us. We thought our pain was only ours, but it was shared. He was part of it. Elijah stood quietly. So, Earth and Kalara, we were connected before, long ago. And something tore us apart? Yes, Orisa whispered, and now you are here, like he said. When we are ready, Elijah looked at her, his voice steady. Then maybe this time we don't forget. She smiled softly, her eyes wet with light. Maybe this time we remember together. The chamber was quiet. After the vision ended, Elijah and Queen Orisa stood still for a long time. Neither spoke. The air around them felt heavy, like it was holding its breath. Elijah could still feel the sadness from the memory. He saw the broken ship, the crying Kalari, and the light-bearer's face, his own face full of sorrow. That pain wasn't just from war or disaster, it was from loss. A deep, ancient kind of loss. Orisa gently pulled her hand away from Elijah's. Her silver eyes shimmered. That memory was locked for a reason. Our people were not ready to face it, but now, I think the time has come. Elijah nodded slowly. What happened between our kinds? It wasn't just history, it was personal. We were family once. She looked at him. Yes, and the break nearly destroyed us. They sat on smooth crystal seats. Light from the walls moved slowly, like ripples in water. Everything in Kalara seemed to respond to emotion, and the chamber felt like it was mourning with them. I have so many questions, Elijah said softly. Why was it hidden? Why were we separated? And how is it possible that I look like him? The Queen gave a small smile. Those are the same questions I've asked since I was a child. Every ruler of Kelara receives the memory of the light-bearer. It's passed down through touch. We call it the soul echo. Elijah listened closely. But the memory was incomplete, she continued. It ended with his promise to return, with his wish that we remember. The darker parts, the pain, the separation, those were locked away. My teachers said it was for our peace. They feared what would happen if we knew the full truth. Elijah leaned forward. But hiding the truth didn't bring peace, did it? Orisa shook her head. No, it brought silence. And silence can be a quiet kind of pain. That evening, Orisa invited Elijah to a special gathering, a council of elders. They were the wisest of the Kalari, keepers of tradition, and they had ruled alongside the queen for many years. Elijah wore a formal robe given to him by the court, woven with threads that shimmered softly when he moved. The council room was shaped like a ring. Each elder sat on a curved seat made from living crystal. The queen stood in the center with Elijah beside her. She raised her hand. My elders, she began, her voice steady. You have always trusted me with the truth of our people. Today I offer you something I have never offered before, a broken piece of that truth, found again. A quiet murmur moved through the room. Elijah stepped forward. I bring you no answers, only questions. But they are questions that must. He asked. Orisa touched the memory stone at the center of the room. A vision of the light-bearer filled the space. His voice echoed softly, full of hope and sorrow. The elders watched in silence. When it ended, one of them spoke. This is not new. We have seen this echo before. But not all of it, Orisa said. There is more. She touched a second crystal. The forbidden's memory dot the image of the broken ship, the crying Kalari, the light between hands. The moment of farewell, gasps filled the room. Some elders closed their eyes. Others wept silently. No one spoke for a long time. Then an old elder, with deep silver lines on his face, stood. We were told the light-bearer left us to protect us, but we were not ready to face his world. But that wasn't the truth. No, said Orisa. The truth is harder. We were both broken, and we both chose to forget. Another elder looked at Elijah. And now the past has returned in you, Elijah nodded. I don't know how or why, but I believe this happened for a reason. Maybe it's time to reconnect what was lost. In the days that followed, everything changed. The news of the memory spread across Kelara. People began gathering at public echo chambers, watching the vision of the light-bearer. Some reacted with wonder, others with fear. Many were confused, but all felt something stir in their hearts. A piece of themselves they didn't know was missing. Elijah walked the city streets with Orisa, talking with citizens, answering their questions, listening to their hopes and worries. He was not just a diplomat now. He was a symbol, a living connection to a forgotten part of their past. In one of the lower districts, a young Kalari artist approached him. She held a small sculpture, two figures standing back to back, holding a shared light between them. I made this after seeing the vision, she said shyly. One is Kalari, one is human, but they carry the same spark. Elijah took the sculpture gently. This means more than you know, thank you. One evening, as the twin moons rose again, Orisa called Elijah to the top of the crystal hall. It was a wide platform with no roof, open to the stars. They stood together, looking up. I've watched these stars my whole life, the queen said. But now they feel different, closer, Elijah smiled. Maybe they always were, we just forgot how to see them. She turned to him. There's something I haven't told you. Elijah raised an eyebrow. When I touched the forbidden's memory, with you, she said, I didn't just see the past, I saw a path forward. What kind of path? He asked. One where our people work together? Not just with treaties or trade, but truly through shared memory, shared emotion. A new kind of alliance, one that honors what we lost. Elijah was quiet for a moment, then he said, That sounds like a beautiful path. She looked at him, her voice soft. It's not easy. Not everyone will accept it. Some fear what we'll discover. Others think we should let the past stay buried, Elijah nodded. But the past doesn't stay buried? It waits. And when the time is right, it rises again, Arisa smiled. Like you. They stood in silence, stars above them, the city glowing below. For the first time, both of them felt like something broken was beginning to heal. Not with power, not with war, but with truth. The next morning, something felt wrong. The wind that usually hummed through Kalar's crystal towers was still. The air held a strange pressure, like the pause before a storm. Elijah noticed it first when he looked out from his balcony. The glowing trees below were dimmer than usual, and the people walking the streets moved quickly, speaking in whispers. He didn't need to ask. He could feel it. Fear was spreading. When Elijah reached the queen's chambers, Orisa was already meeting with two of her royal guards. Their faces were tense. There's unrest in the lower districts, one of the guards reported. Protests have started near the memory wells. Some say the visions are false, that the human is not a light bearer but a trick. Orisa's expression stayed calm, but Elijah could see the worry in her eyes. Who is spreading these lies? The guard hesitated. Elder Vornas. That name hit like a blade. Vornas was one of the oldest and most respected council elders. He had been silent during the vision meeting days ago, but now it was clear he did not support the path they were taking. Of course, Orisa muttered. He's feared change for years. Elijah stepped forward. Can I speak to him? The queen turned to him. You want to face Vornas directly? Elijah nodded. He believes I'm a threat, but I think he's just afraid. Maybe if I talk to him, he'll listen. Orisa was quiet for a moment. Then she gave a slow nod. Be careful, Elijah. Vornas is wise. But old wounds can twist wisdom into something dangerous. Later that day, Elijah entered the House of Echoes where Vornas lived and taught. It was a large, dome-shaped building made of white stone and crystal, older than most in the city. Inside, the lights were dim. Only a few students walked the halls. Elijah was led to a quiet garden in the center of the dome where Vornas sat. Beside a shallow pool, meditating, the elder looked up as Elijah approached. You come without guards? He said. I came to talk, not fight, Elijah replied. Vornas studied him. Then speak. Elijah sat across from him. You saw the same vision I did? You know, there's truth in it. So why are you trying to stop it? Vornas' face remained calm, but his voice was sharp. Truth is not always meant to be followed. The light-bearer left us, maybe for a reason. Maybe he saw what we would become and chose not to return. He didn't abandon you, Elijah said. He sacrificed something, maybe everything, to give your people hope. Or maybe he failed, Vornas said quietly. And now his echo lives in you, dragging us toward the same mistake again. Elijah leaned forward. If we don't face the past, we'll never heal. We'll live in fear forever. Isn't that worse? Vornas looked away. For a moment he seemed tired. I have guided Kalara for a long time, he said. I've seen peace built on careful balance. But now you come, and that balance shakes. Sometimes peace built on silence is no peace at all, Elijah replied. You're not afraid of me, Vornas. You're afraid of the truth. The elder stood slowly. You may be right. But truth can still destroy. Be careful, human. Some memories are sharp enough to cut worlds. That night, Orisa invited Elijah to her private observatory, a glass room hanging high above the crystal hall. From there, the stars looked close. Enough to touch. I heard about your visit to Vornas, she said. He won't stop us openly, Elijah said. But he won't help us either. The queen sighed. There are more like him than I thought? People afraid of what we're awakening. Then we show them what we really want, Elijah said. Not war, not power, just connection. She looked at him for a long moment. You speak like him, like the light-bearer. I don't know how or why, Elijah said, but I feel it. I feel like I've been here before somehow, like a part of me remembers this place. Orisa stepped closer. Then there is something else I need to show you. She led him to a secret room beneath the palace vault of ancient things. In the center was a black crystal unlike the others. It didn't glow. It absorbed light. "This is the core memory," she said. "It was taken from the light bearer himself before he vanished. My ancestors locked it away." Elijah approached it slowly. His heart beat faster as he got closer. Something about the crystal called to him. He placed a hand on it. The room vanished suddenly. Elijah stood inside a ship, a human ship. Earth markings covered the walls. But the lights were red, alarms were sounding, and people were shouting. He saw soldiers running, scientists crying. A door was forced open and outside. A Kalari city burned in the distance. It was war. Elijah turned to see the light bearer standing in the center of the chaos. He was trying to speak to both sides, humans and Kalari, but no one listened. Fear controlled them now. A voice screamed over the ship's speakers. "This alliance is broken. Prepare weapons." The light bearer shouted back, "No. This isn't what we agreed to. Don't." A flash of light. An explosion. Then silence. The vision ended. Elijah fell to his knees, gasping. The queen knelt beside him. "What did you see?" she whispered. Elijah shook his head slowly. "Not peace, war, betrayal. We were allies once. But something happened, something terrible. And whoever he was tried to stop it." Arisa's face was pale. "Then the break between our peoples, it wasn't natural, it was forced." Fueled by fear, Elijah looked at her. "Someone wanted us to forget, to make sure we never trusted each other again. And now that trust is returning," she said. Which means, Elijah said, standing. Whoever broke it might still be watching. Far away, deep beneath the city, a hidden chamber flickered to life. A figure stepped into the light, cloaked in shadows. Its eyes glowed with cold blue fire. The voice was not Kalari. Not human. It whispered one word. Awakened. Elijah could feel the change in the air. For days, Kalari had been alive with hope. After the memories returned, after the light-bearer's truth was revealed, the city had begun to breathe again. Walls were coming down between humans and Kalari. Trust was blooming like a long-lost flower. But now, something darker had entered the garden. In the highest chamber of the crystal hall, Queen Alrisa stood beside Elijah, staring at the screen. In front of them, it showed something they hadn't seen in hundreds of years. A ship, but not one from Earth, not Kalari either. This ship was black, shaped like a knife, and it moved without sound, without light. It was hiding in the shadows of Kalara's second moon. "It activated after you touched the core memory," Alrisa whispered. Elijah narrowed his eyes. "Who does it belong to?" A voice came from behind. "It was Elder Vornis, I believe." "No," he said. "And I was hoping I would never have to speak of them again." The queen turned. "What are they?" "They are the Shadow Architects," Vornis said slowly. "They were once part of the Alliance creatures of thought and silence. They never trusted the bond between humans and Kalari. They believed connection made us weak, so they sabotaged it." Elijah clenched his fists. "They started the war?" "They planted lies in both our minds," Vornis said. "They made us believe we were enemies. And when the Lightbearer tried to stop it, they silenced him." Queen Alrisa looked at Elijah. "Then if they've returned, it means they fear what?" "We've done, us remembering. U.S. uniting." "They won't allow it," Elijah said. "Then we fight?" Alrisa answered firmly. Alarms sounded across Kalara as the black ship entered the atmosphere. Unlike other ships, it didn't land. It hovered, casting a long shadow over the city, like a storm cloud. Then came the voice. It wasn't spoken. It was felt inside every mind. "You were warned. Memory is dangerous. Connection is weakness. The light must remain broken." Elijah stood at the city center, looking up at the sky. "No," he said aloud, "you were wrong. Memory is power, and we are not broken anymore." The voice hissed, full of rage. "Then be unmade." Suddenly, beams of dark energy shot from the ship, targeting the city's power lines and echo chambers. Towers exploded, lights flickered. People screamed, but something strange happened. As the energy waves struck the city, Kalari people one by one began to glow. A soft, golden light surrounded their hands, their hearts, their minds. Elijah felt it too. He turned to Arisa. "What is this?" She smiled through the fear. "It's the echo. You awakened it in us, the light-bearer's gift. It was never lost, just sleeping." Elijah raised his hands. The light flowed from his palms like fire and mist. He felt connected not just to the queen, but to every Kalari in the city, and then something even more impossible happened. A memory surfaced, not from the past, but from another version of himself. Another Elijah, in another time. The one who had been the light-bearer. He saw the final battle again, but this time from the light-bearer's eyes. He remembered building the echo with Arisa's ancestor. He remembered the promise. When the stars fall silent, the light will return reborn in the soul of the other. The other was him. Elijah rose above the city, glowing brighter than anything the sky had ever seen. The shadow ship turned its weapons toward him, but before it could fire, the Kalari stood in a circle around the city, lifting their hands, feeding their light into Elijah. It traveled through him into the sky. The shadow ship screamed, "You do not understand. You are children playing with truth." "No," Elijah said. "We are truth." He pushed his hands forward, and the light turned into a wave, crashing into the ship. It didn't explode. It didn't burn. It simply faded, as if the darkness had been unmade by the light. Silence returned, but this time it was peaceful. Hours later, the people of Kalara gathered in the city square. The damage was already being repaired. The crystals had started regrowing. Life once again moved forward. Queen Arisa stood before her people, with Elijah beside her. "Today, she said, we did not just defend our home. We remembered who we are, what we were meant to be." She turned to Elijah. "This human came to us as a stranger. We feared him. We doubted him, but he held the light we had forgotten." Elijah spoke next. "I was just a soldier, a pilot. I didn't come here expecting any of this, but now I know. It wasn't by accident. The light-bearer wasn't just a memory. He lives in all of us, in every human who wonders what lies beyond, in every Kalari who dares to hope." The crowd stood silent for a moment, then they began to cheer, not for victory, but for unity. Later that night, Elijah and Arisa sat alone in the garden beneath the glowing trees. "I think the shadow architects were right about one thing," Elijah said quietly. "Oh?" Arisa asked. He smiled. "Connection is dangerous, but not because it makes us weak, because it makes us strong. Strong enough to break their control." She nodded. "And now?" Elijah looked up at the stars. "Now we rebuild. Together." She placed her hand on his. "And the next time the stars fall silent?" He squeezed her hand gently. "We'll remember the light."